Hi there, this is Miss Winakur, and today we're going to be reading a book called The Name Jar. This was written and illustrated by Yang Suk Choi, and my name is Miss Winakur, and this is 21st Century. And so today we're really going to be talking about what is it like for a student who's from a different culture, moving to a new place, going to a new school. So our main character, her name is Unhei. And so Unhei's from Korea, and she moves to the United States, and she's really nervous about starting her new school. And we are going to learn about her transition. That means moving from one place to another. And like I said, she's from Korea. And so we're going to be learning how she makes friends, how she adapts to her new school. Okay, so I want you to think about, as we're reading, how would you feel if you had to move to a new country and started a new school? I would think, I'm going to make a prediction of how I feel. I would feel very nervous. All right, so we're going to read aloud, and I want you to pay attention to how Unhei makes friends throughout the book. All right, so let's get started. All right, so The Name Jar, written by Yang Suk Choi, and I want you to make an observation. Look at the cover. I'm not from Korea, so we're going to learn today about a different culture because our main character is from Korea. Through the school bus window, Unhei was looked out at a strange building and houses on the way to her new school. It was on her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. Look at her face. How would you feel? New country, new school. She figured the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Unhei's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. "Your name is inside," she said. "My name?" Unhei had wondered. Again, she had took the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and the ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. "It is that thing for show and tell, a boy?" asked Unhei, surprising her. Unhei looked up as more kids leaned over. "No, it's mine," Unhei answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. "Are you new here? What's your name?" a girl asked. "Unhei," said Unhei. "Oi, nay?" the girl asked, scrunching up her face. "Oi, oi, oi, nay," the kids chanted. No, Unhei corrected. "It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Unhei." "Oh, it's Unhei?" the boy said. "Like you. Hey, what about hey you?" Just then, the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Unhei hurried to get off. "Unhei, bye-bye," the kids yelled as she left. Unhei felt herself blush. So her name is actually pronounced Unhei. Unhei stood in the doorway of her new school and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to another room, but her face was still red. So I want you to imagine and picture yourself. Unhei has been on this bus and the kids were trying to say her name, but they were making fun of her and they didn't make her feel good. So that's why she's red, but she was a little, we're going to say, relieved. That means that she was a little less nervous because when she went into her classroom, none of the kids who were trying to say her name and making fun of the name were in her bus. "Aren't you going in?" said a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. "You're the new girl, right?" he asked cheerfully. Unhei nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. "Here's the new girl," he announced so loudly that the teacher, Miss Kokotos, almost dropped her glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Unhei. "Please welcome our newest student," he said to the class. "She and her family just arrived from Korea last week." Unhei smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. "What's your name?" someone shouted. Unhei pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one out yet, she told the class, but I'll let you know next week. As Mr. Kokotos showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes looking at her. Why doesn't she have a name? As someone whispered. Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity, a boy replied. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Unhei kept talking about her name. How was school, Unhei? Her mother asked when she walked in. Did you understand the teacher? Unhei simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and the red pouch by a photograph of her grandmother. I'm glad you're learning English well, her mother said. You must study hard, behave nicely, and get good grades to show that you're a good Korean. I will, replied Unhei, but I think I would like my own American name, she said quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. Why? Unhei is a beautiful name. Your grandmother and I went to a name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Unhei complained. I don't want to be different from all the American kids. You are different, Unhei, her mother said. That's a good thing. Unhei wrinkled her nose. She probably wrinkled her nose because she didn't want to be different. Later that day, Unhei and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fidel's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted truck roared like an lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was both in English and Korean. Her mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-style spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Unhei's favorite, for soup. It made Unhei smile. Just because we moved to America, her mother says, doesn't mean we need to stop eating Korean food. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Unhei. Helping your mother shopping, he asked. Unhei nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said, and what is your name? Unhei, she answered. Ah, such a beautiful name, he says. Does it mean grace? Unhei nodded again. My mother and my grandmother went to a name master for it, she told him. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said as he put the groceries into bags. Welcome to the neighborhood, Unhei. That evening, Unhei stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name's Amanda, she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. Hi, my name's Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. I don't think Americans will like me, she worried as she began to brush her teeth. Hi, manim id shusi, she said to the mirror with a mouthful of toothpaste. The next morning, when Unhei arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Unhei took one out and read it out loud. Daisy. That's my baby sister's nickname, but you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Unhei took out the rest of the paper. Tamala, she said. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Unhei nodded and unfolded another piece of paper. Wednesday? Yeah, you came here on Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Unhei's face. Ralph quickly said, we'll put more names in it. You can pick whatever one you like or pick them all, and you'll have the longest name in history. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the day. Unhei looked out the window and saw it was sprinkling. It was the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched other kids leaving in groups. Hey, a familiar face called out to her. Unhei turned around to see a curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey. And he said, and you? Don't You know my name? Don't you have any name? Unhei thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said. And she took out a small piece of paper from her red pouch and she pressed the wooden blocks on the ink pad and then stamped it on a piece of paper. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandma gave it to me. In Korea, I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill out a piece of paper. Want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's so beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Unhei said. Then the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Look at how beautiful that stamp is. So does it seem like she's getting more comfortable with her classmates? We'll see if she picks a name or she gets to share her name with her class. We'll see. Every day, the jar got fuller and fuller, and Unhei read all of them. She found new names like Miranda, Stella, Avery. They sounded interesting. I hope you choose the name I put in it, Marco told her at the snack table. I put in 3 more, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They're all my favorite streets. Maybe you should close your eyes and draw a name, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the one that she draws? When I say draws, that means take out of the jar. Well, we don't get to choose our names when we were born, did we? Rosie argued. Everyone thought about this. Well, it's nice that her classmates are trying to help her. We'll see. When Unhei got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. She opened it quickly. It said, To my Unhei, I hope you're enjoying your new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here the moon is up and the sun is down. And there the sun is down. No matter how far apart we are and no matter how different, America is from Korea, and you will always be my Unhei, your grandma forever. Unhei took out her wooden stamp and filled a paper with it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. I wonder what's going through her mind. On Saturday, Unhei walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, and he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Mr. Unhei. Hello, Mr. Kim. Unhei replied. She felt as if she was back in her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. Your name is Unhei? He asked her with his eyes open. Unhei looked quickly at Mr. Kim, and then she turned to Joey. She nodded slowly. Yes, it's pronounced Unhei, and it means grace, Mr. Kim added. Unhei, Joey said slowly, and this time it's perfect. It made Unhei smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you tomorrow. See you Monday, Unhei, Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was at the store. I wonder what she's thinking. Why is Joey at the store? On Monday, Unhei came to class early to look for the names one last time, but the jar wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was a single piece of paper with a name on it. Unhei slipped it in her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Unhei said. It was on Mr. Kokoto's desk, or on any other desk, and it wasn't on the counters or any of the shelves. As the kids arrived, they helped her look. Soon Mr. Kokotos came in, and Ralph shouted at him, The name jar is gone! The name jar with all the names in it! Gone, Mr. Kokotos said. With a look of concern, he asked Unhei, Did you get a chance to read all the names? Unhei nodded. She took a breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Unhei wrote her name in both English and Korean. Do you see that? I liked the beautiful names and funny names you thought for me, she told the class, but I realized I like my name best, so I choose it again. Korean names mean something. Unhei means grace. Grace, Grace Unhei, shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. Yaha-i, Unyi, Unhei. Unhei said her name again slowly and clearly, and soon the children began to say it better, even Mr. Kokotos. They applauded Yuhai's choice. I was named after a flower, Rosie said to Unhei. Lots of American names have meanings too, Mr. Kokotos reminded everybody. When the class was dismissed, Unhei heard her friend say, "Goodbye. See you tomorrow." Bye, Unhei. Unhei said goodbye to everyone and then looked for Joey, but he was already gone. Unhei, come downstairs. Mother called up, your friend is here. Unhei rushed down to see who she meant. There stood Joey. And in his arms were the name jar. Where did you find it? Well, I took it only because I wanted you to keep your own name. And you did. He reached out and pulled out the names. Do you want to keep them? He asked. Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir, Unhei said happily. And then she pulled out a piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want this back? Joey grinned. You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to class. Maybe you can put Korean nicknames in it for us. Names with good meanings. I've already got a Korean nickname, Jim said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. What do you think his nickname is? Carefully, he pulled out a silver pouch from his pocket, and then he took out a dark stamp with a beautiful Korean letters carved sharply into it. He pressed the ink pad and then the piece of paper next to her name. So this one's Unhei's, and then this one's Joey's. Chiku, read Unhei. That means friend. And Chico smiled back. So, Unhei was so nervous when she moved to America from Korea. And then what happened? She had a little rough start on the school bus with the kids making fun of her name. But then her classmates came up with the name jar and made her feel comfortable. And she even made a friend out of it. So I want you to remember that everybody comes from different places. Everybody has different names and they can mean certain things. But remember, have some courage and you be you. Have a good day.